What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, your go-to place for real conversations about life, faith, and everything in between. Whether you are starting to explore Christianity or you're a seasoned believer, we're here to talk through the victories, the trials, and the everyday moments that come with living out your faith. From stories of God's faithfulness into deep dives into scripture, we aim to encourage you, to equip you, and to make you laugh along the way. So sit back, grab a coffee, and let's chat about how we can grow together in Christ, no matter where we're at in life. But before we get started in today's video, I would like to thank everyone who has encouraged me to continue to make my dream come true with my YouTube channel. For those who know me personally, I posted on my social media that I would be starting my podcast in March. And if you know what time of the year it is, it's been a couple months. And the problem is I was just having some big issues when it comes to the editing. I would do a video and then edit, and then it would self-delete it, and then I would make a new video, then edit, then it would self-delete it, and it was just completely frustrating. I had no clue what I was doing, and thank the Lord now I have things figured out. In today's introduction, there are three main questions I've been getting asked since wanting to start my podcast. Number one, who am I? Number two, why am I doing this? And then number three, what am I planning to get out of this? And after I answer those questions, I'll give my testimony at the end so you can kind of get a grasp of who I am as a person. So number one, who am I? My name is Jay. I am a pastor, and I am also a husband. Here's a picture of me and my wife on the screen. Her name is Claire. And then we also have two dogs. The first dog is Rio. He's the bigger one. And then we also have a miniature. His name's Milo. My wife and I actually met each other at home, and then we went off to college, we got married, and then now we're back at home and we're preaching in the church that we first met. I think that's pretty cool. So number two, why am I doing this? The reason I chose to do this is because when I was a young teenager, the only people I could count on are my youth pastor, my youth leaders, my youth team, and my senior pastor. And without them, I don't know where I would be in life. I really have to say I have no clue where I'd be doing in life. But when I would go home from church and events, I binge watched YouTube. And at the time, I don't think there was any Christians being vocal about their faith and sharing their faith on YouTube. There may have been a couple, but I just remember in that time for me, I was looking, but I couldn't really find anything. And if there were stuff out there, maybe I just didn't run into it. And so I have decided that being on YouTube, being vocal about my faith, is something that I need to do, not just for me to look good. I don't think it's not about me at all, but it has all to do with the generations to come. As I look at the generations to come, I recognize that there's a desperate need for revival. And so this channel is strictly to help you, to mold you, to let you know that you're not alone, that the situations that you're facing in life, others around the world are facing the same situations. And so after the video, I want everyone who watches this to leave a comment. Whether you are a seasoned believer, tell me your story of how you got in a relationship with Christ, or you're exploring Christianity. Let me know that as well. I want to know everyone who watches this video, because this is important. We're going to create a family here, a safe place for everyone, whether you are a seasoned believer or you are exploring Christianity, to be involved in, to communicate, to listen, also to speak. I want this to be a really fun and safe environment for everyone. And so number three, what is the purpose in all of this? Why do all of this? It kind of goes back to question number two. But I want to encourage you. I want you to recognize that there is a God in heaven who wants to help you personally. That He isn't just some faraway God that we cannot talk to. No, but He is personable. He's intimate. He wants to be in relationship with His people. And so, to stay encouraged, recognize that God has everything that you could ever want and even need. Again, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video so far. Thank you guys for asking me those three questions. And hopefully I did a good job answering those questions. And now it's time for my testimony. Okay, so I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and I remember as a little kid going to church. And I would go to church with my mom and sometimes with my neighbor, but I really remember the times of going to church with my mom and my neighbor very often. I would hear people preach and hear people sing, but as a kid, you know, you don't really understand it all. You're just kind of there. We would be in the playpen, we'd have fun. And that was kind of what was motivating me to go. And then out of nowhere, I recognized I would stop going to church. Whether it was me just not wanting to go, but there was definitely something going on in my life where I just started to cut back from going to kids' church. I remember crying one time because I could not go to church on Sunday. Why I remember this is because after Sunday service, my neighbor would take me to go get a movie from Redbox, and my favorite movie was Chicken Little as a kid. And so probably from the ages 7 to 11, I have very few memories of attending a church. I don't know what was going on in my life, but nevertheless, that was the case. And so about the age of 11, my parents had decided to move. And so we packed up everything, we left Detroit, Michigan, and we moved to Ohio. Now, moving to Ohio, that process was something that was very scary to me. Very scary. And I say that it was scary for me is because I was hearing stories from other people about a certain race. You know, I would hear stories like, Jay, you got to protect yourself. There's a lot of white people around. Protect yourself. Guard yourself. And so when I moved here, that's what I did. I protected myself. I guarded myself. And for me, that was a huge culture shock. Recognizing that, man, I was one of the very few colored kids. Now, that has no reflect on the school district. They loved me. They cared for me. But it took me a while to really understand that they loved me. I remember the first week of school and going to the restroom and having students surround me because they wanted to know who I was. And I was washing my hands and I was balling my fist up, ready to fight. Just ready to hit someone. And as I turned around and they noticed my fists were balled up, one of them flinched and said, "Whoa, man. Whoa. Don't swing. I just want to know you. You haven't spoken to anybody in a week." And from that moment on, I realized people cared. In fact, I even recognized that maybe everything that I have been told could all be a lie. And so from that moment on, I realized that I will walk life's path my own way. No more being the aggressor. No more death stares. But being open, speaking, smiling, because people wanted to know more about who I was. You see, that was deeper than just color. And so at the end of the week, I was pretty much established, except for there was one thing I needed to do. You see, we had moved in on a Monday, and then Saturday came rolling around. You see, I heard my mom say that I would be going to church, and I was like, "Mom, I haven't been to church in years. What is going on?" Me go to church, and I gotta be a little honest, I was a little frustrated. But I remember that Saturday like it was yesterday, as our bus captain knocked on the door. And she knew everything about me. My mom had told her everything. And I opened the door and she said to me, "You must be Jay Sean." And I was shook. And I said, "What do you want?" And she said, "Church." And so with a big smile, I couldn't hesitate. I said, "Sure." And so from then on, I started going to church. I went to church pretty faithfully as a teen. I don't remember missing any Sundays and Wednesday nights as a teen. Now, don't get me wrong, I played sports and stuff, and my life was very hectic. But yeah, I was very faithful to stay to church. And so I started to grow this hard heart. Mainly because I wanted something. You see, what I wanted was a life full of glamour and popularity. And I remember growing up having hatred for people. Though I was changing my worldview and I was going to church and attending a church, but yet nothing was clicking. Why? Because I wasn't taking what God said seriously. I would go to church on Sundays and Wednesdays, but then on Mondays and Thursdays, I was back to myself. I would go back to cussing and sinning, smoking, and maybe even drinking. You see, my life was wrecked, empty, dark. And I remember that day where I came home one night and I was just buzzed out my mind and drunk out of my mind, and I didn't want anything to do with anybody. I was just so mad and so hateful. And coming into that house that night, my mom and dad could tell just from the look of me. And as my mom approached me, she could smell the alcohol. She could smell the drugs on me. That I was definitely intoxicated. And so I was so mad and I was so upset. And I yelled at my dad. I cussed at my dad. And my dad was so furious when my mom was furious with me. And I remember those words, my dad saying, "If you're going to do life your way, then leave. Go. Leave." And so that's what I planned to do. I remember being upset after I slammed the door and everything was going wrong, and packing my bags and looking at my desk and I noticed that my Bible had fell. And so I walked over there to pick it up and it had a bookmark in it. And so it naturally opened to that page because of the bookmark, and there was a verse highlighted. And that verse saved my life. See, that verse was Matthew 16:24. And Jesus said unto his disciples, "If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take his cross, and follow me." I remember reading those words and being so upset, full of rage and full of anger. But then I said these words. With tears coming down my face, I said, "God, I don't know what it means to take up my cross, to deny myself, but I'll do it. God, I'll do whatever you ask me to do. I'm to a point where no return. If this is what you call men to do, I'll do it." And I remember his presence coming into the room, and from being intoxicated to sober, from being blurry vision, not understanding what I was doing, to full focus. And so my mom came in and she noticed something was different about me, and I told her what I just did. And so she starts crying, and then my sibling that's under me comes in and she's bawling and crying. and she starts hugging me, and then my youngest sibling comes in, and then they start hugging me, and we're all bawling, and it's 4 of us in this room. We're just bawling, and I'm praising God, and I'm telling my mom that I got saved, and I'm testifying, and I'm apologizing for everything that I've done wrong. And then God says, Jay, there's one more person. And I was afraid, and I was scared of my dad. So I knew my dad was going to be so mad. He was already mad at me. I didn't know what to do, but I did. I went to him. And I remember having my head down, and I said, Dad, I'm so sorry for what I've done. I've been a horrible son. I said, Dad, even if you don't forgive me, I love you. And I remember he grabbed my chin, and I looked up, and my dad was weeping. He was crying. He hugged me. He said he loved me. He forgave me. You see, I was headed down a dark path. My life was destruction. But because of God, because of him, everything changed. You see, without God, none of that would have happened. I would be somewhere else in the world, maybe in prison. But yet, because of God, everything changes. And so, that's a little bit about me. That's my testimony. If you watch this video, like and comment. I want to know who you are. How Christ has saved you if you're a seasoned believer. Or yet, if you're still trying to figure things out, how are things going? I welcome you. This is a family. And I want to know every detail about every single one of you. Stay tuned in the next video.